Well, good afternoon, and welcome to Omista Credit Union's 2021 Annual General Meeting. I'm Jack Lowe, and I'll be chairing the meeting this afternoon. Before we get to our official agenda, I would like to welcome back and formally introduce you to Catherine Harrop, who will be our moderator again this year. Catherine will now share with you some basic information about how the meeting will work.
Thank you so much for asking me back as moderator. It's my pleasure to be here. And well, 2 years of pandemic and restrictions and gathering find us back here online once again. So in the cooperative spirit of the credit union, because I know you want to cooperate and you want to participate, I'm going to show you just a couple little things you need to know in order for you to participate in the meeting today. This is your AGM on Zoom. We'll begin with the audio settings. You'll find those at the bottom left-hand side of your screen. You see that little up arrow? That's the arrow you click if you're not hearing things really well, and you can turn up the volume on your computer, the output volume. And take that tab and drag it to the right, and you'll be able to hear us a little bit better. The raise your hand icon, well, that's only on request, so don't worry about it. It's the Q&A button that is the crucial button for you. It's your way of talking directly to the panel, to ask questions, and to move or second a motion. And then you just hit send, and we will get your motion. Now, the send anonymously button, that's been disabled because we really need to know who it is who sends that motion. You'll see a poll. You can select yes or no, and then hit that submit button, and that will register your vote. And not very long after, you will see the results. If you are having technical difficulty, Alex Maudsley is standing by. His number is 506-233-1302. That's 506-233-1302. And that is your AGM on Zoom.
Thank you, Catherine. As we open this annual general meeting, we would like to acknowledge that we are on the unceded and ancestral lands of the Wolastoqey, Maliseet, and Mi'kmaq peoples. We also pay respect to the Wolastoqey, Maliseet, and Mi'kmaq knowledge embedded in this land, and to the elders. This territory is covered by the treaties of peace and friendship. The treaties recognize Mi'kmaq and Wolastoqey, Maliseet, land title, and establish the rules for what was to be an ongoing relationship between nations. All inhabitants in this place, the indigenous peoples referred to as Turtle Island, are parties to treaties signed by our ancestors. There remains much work to be done on the path to reconciliation, and Omista is committed to walking this path with Indigenous leaders and communities. Before I call the meeting to order, may I please call for a moment of silence to remember and honor members, friends, family, and colleagues lost over the past year. We also take a moment to be together in solidarity for the hurt being experienced in our world. Thank you. I'll now call the meeting to order. At all meetings of the credit union, 14 members shall constitute a quorum. Catherine, do we have a quorum?
We do. We have 68 voting members in attendance, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. With 68, you said?
Oh, actually, no, I correct that. It is, you were relying on me to do math, weren't you?
Add 'em up.
77 minus 3.
75, 74.
75.
With 74 members in attendance under our bylaws, a quorum is confirmed. Please take note that this virtual meeting is being recorded while presented. I'd like now to appoint Joanne Beliveau, Executive Assistant, as the recording secretary for this afternoon's meeting, as well as Gregory McLean, Legal Counsel with McInnes Cooper, as our parliamentarian. During the pre-show and immediately before the commencement of the meeting, instructions were provided regarding how to ask a question, move or second motions, and participate in votes. Before I proceed, are there any further questions or clarifications you may require on procedures? If so, please type your question into the Q&A. We will pause for a moment and await any questions you might have.
I just want to say there is a question from Dolan Bourgeois, but it's not on this topic. So we're going to delay that, Mr. Bourgeois, just to the Q&A at the end, okay?
Great.
So there are no other questions, Mr.
As there doesn't appear to be any questions, we will proceed. Provided in the downloadable meeting documents was a copy of the agenda, which is now displayed on the screen. May I have a motion to approve the agenda and to permit the chair to change its order if necessary?
So what we ask to do is you want to repeat the motion, Mr. Chair?
We're looking for a mover and seconder to the motion to approve the agenda. So
And-
to do so, please enter I move or I second into the Q&A box located at the bottom of your screen in the middle. Mr.
Thank you very much. So
Let
we
me
have
do that.
Richard Vaillancourt who has moved. So moved, and Rayanne Brennan has seconded that motion, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Is there any discussion on the motion? Please use the Q&A box to type in any questions you may have. We will pause for a moment to allow time for your questions. So there does not appear to be any questions, so we'll put up the poll.
Okay, so now what you do is you read the question and you can select yes or no and then hit submit at the bottom, and then we will see the results. And if we can see the results now, if we feel we've reached a, oh, they're still coming in. Okay. We do end up having, okay, and now we're going to see the results. We have 100% in favor, Mr. Chair.
Great. Fine, thank you. I would now like to pass things over to Catherine, our moderator, for the introductions of the board of directors and presenters. Catherine.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And because you begin it, here we go. Jack Lowe, Board Chairperson. Claire Fanning, Board Vice Chairperson. Rayanne Brennan, Board Secretary. Pat Duffield, Board Past Chairperson. France Leblanc, Director. Shani Beaulieu, Director. Robert Christie, Director. Ajit Gautam, Director. Simon Pacey, Director. Tammy Christopher, Chief Executive Officer. Asha Jamula, Director of Finance and Risk. Jennifer Clement, External Auditor, KPMG. And that is your Omista Board of Directors. Back to you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Catherine. We'll now move on to agenda topic 5, which is the approval of the minutes. This year, we have 2 sets of minutes to be approved. the minutes of the 2020 Annual General Meeting and the minutes of the Special General Meeting of November 24th, 2021. Both sets of minutes were provided in the downloadable meeting documents. We'll deal with each set of minutes individually, starting with the minutes of the 2020 Annual General Meeting. If in order, may I have a motion for the approval of the minutes of the 2020 Annual General Meeting dated April 1st, 2020.
And please type "I move" or "I second" into the Q&A. We have France Leblanc has so moved, and Stephanie Herron has seconded the motion, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Catherine. Is there any discussion on the motion? Please use the Q&A box to type in any questions you may have. We'll pause for a moment to allow time for your questions.
There are no comments or questions, Mr. Chair.
Great. You should now see a poll on your screen. May I ask all members to please vote now by choosing your selection and hitting submit.
This is a motion to approve the minutes of the 2020 Annual General Meeting. And we have 100% approval, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Catherine. The motion is carried. The minutes of the 2020 AGM have been approved. Next, we'll have the minutes of the Special General Meeting of November 24th, 2021. If in order, may I have a motion for the approval of the minutes of the Special General Meeting of November 24th, 2021.
We have so moved by Patricia Duffield and seconded by Richard Vaillancourt.
Thanks, Catherine. Is there any discussion on the motion? Please use the Q&A box to type in any questions you may have. We'll pause for a moment to allow time for your questions.
There are no questions, Mr. Chair.
All right, you should now see a poll on your screen. I ask all members to please vote now by choosing your selection and hitting submit.
This is a motion to approve the minutes to the Special General Meeting held on the 24th of November, 2021. I'm really trying not to hum the theme of Jeopardy, Mr. Chair, really trying. Okay. Still coming in. And we have 100% approval, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. As displayed on the screen, the motion is carried. The minutes of the Special General Meeting have been approved. Moving on to agenda item number 6. I ask Claire Fanning, Chair of the Governance Committee, to lead us through the Articles of Amendment. Following her review, we will ask for the motion. Once the motion is in place, we'll open the floor to questions prior to the voting. I now call upon Claire Fanning.
Thank you, Jack, and good afternoon, everyone. Omista wishes to increase its equity to asset position over the next few years. This is also desired by our regulators for all New Brunswick credit unions. An effective way of doing so is to issue preferred shares to our members. We began our equity building efforts in December 2021 by issuing 1.5 million of Class AA preferred shares. We can further develop our equity building plans by approving the future possible issuance of Class AAA preferred shares, Series 1 and 2. By doing so now, we will avoid having to come to you every year for additional article amendments. As per Section 9(1) E and F of the Credit Unions Act, the articles of a credit union shall set out the classes and any maximum number of shares that the credit union is authorized to issue other than membership shares, if any, and if there will be two or more classes of shares, the rights, privileges, restrictions, and conditions attaching to each class of shares, and if the right to transfer shares in the credit union is to be restricted, the restrictions on the right to transfer shares and the nature of the restrictions. Also, per the Act, Section 41(1), entitled Other Shares, in addition to membership shares, the articles of a credit union may provide for the issuance of surplus shares for the purposes of Section 47, and, with the approval of the superintendent, any other class or classes of shares. We are proposing that Article 6 of the restated Articles of Incorporation be amended by adding the following paragraphs. Immediately after the Class AA preferred shares, hang on one second, did I skip a page, guys? No, okay, continue on, following paragraphs. Immediately after the Class AA preferred shares number and consideration maximums, Class AAA preferred shares, Series 1, maximum number of shares authorized to be issued, 50,000, total consideration to be paid, $5 million. Class AAA preferred shares, Series 2, maximum number of shares authorized to be issued, 50,000, total consideration to be paid, $5 million. The Class AAA Preferred Shares Series 1 and the Class AAA Preferred Shares Series 2 are collectively referred to as the Class AAA Preferred Shares. As a result of this addition, Article 7 will see the addition of Schedules F and G. As we completed the work necessary to add in the new AAA Preferred Shares, we also had a need to firm up some wording in Schedules A, B, and E. Schedule A, Item 1, will have the words "of the Act" included for additional clarity. Schedule B, Item 8, will have the references to the Class A's, Double A's, and Triple A's added for additional clarity as well. Schedule E has been updated based on legal advice as follows. Under Section 1.01, definitions D, F, and G, each have additional wording that provides greater clarity. There has also been the addition of two additional definitions, L, maturity date, and M, offering. Section 2.00 has a new paragraph added, which speaks to successive offerings of the Class AA preferred shares. All of the article changes we are recommending today make possible the future issuance of new shares. They describe in some detail all the various attributes of the new shares. Schedules F and G are identical in wording for each of the two new series of AAA preferred shares. We do not believe it's necessary to review all of the changes in detail, but will answer any questions you may have. Mr. Chair, this concludes my summary of the Articles of Amendment. I move the approval of the Articles of Amendment as presented.
So we are now looking for a seconder of that motion. And if you second this motion, please put it in the Q&A now. This has been seconded by Patricia Duffield. Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Claire and Catherine. The motion has been duly moved and seconded. Are there any questions related to the Articles of Amendment? I will pause now for any questions. Please use the Q&A box to type in any questions you may have regarding the Articles of Amendment. If you wish to speak, please raise your virtual hand. This helps us locate you to unmute your line and allow you to ask your questions. We'll pause for a moment to allow time for these questions.
You can find the virtual hand just to the left of the Q&A. It says raise hand. if you want to speak on this motion, or please put your question in the Q&A. There appears to be no questions, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Catherine. As a reminder, the motion on the floor is to approve the articles of amendment. Please take note that changes to the articles require a special resolution as per the Credit Union Act. A special resolution is a resolution passed by 2/3 or more of the votes cast by the persons who voted in respect to that resolution. Therefore, a 2/3 majority is required on this vote. Once again, before we proceed, are there any further discussion on the motion or clarification required on the special resolution? Please use the Q&A box to type in any questions you may have. We'll pause for a moment to allow time for your questions.
We do have a question, Mr. Chair.
Right.
What does increased equity do for the credit union?
Well, it certainly strengthens the credit union's balance sheet. The FCMB, our regulator, requires a minimum of 5%, I believe. This offering we just went through in December gave us a little over 6%. But the regulator is not satisfied, even though the Act says one thing. The regulator is looking for equity increase to probably 8% over the next couple of years. So we have to work on that. Hopefully that answers your question.
Okay, that was from Reginald Dingley. So any other questions? No, there does not appear to be any other questions, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. You should now see a poll on your screen. May I ask all members to please vote now by choosing your selection and hitting submit.
This is the motion to accept the articles of amendment as presented. (100% in favor, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. As displayed on the screen, we do have a 2/3 majority. The special resolution of the articles of amendment has been approved. I will once again call upon Claire Fanning to take us through the proposed bylaw changes. Following Claire's presentation, we'll call for the motion and then take questions. Claire.
Thank you again, Jack. So we have a number of bylaw changes this afternoon. I will go through each section and summarize the changes and additions. Please note that the table of contents and several references within the bylaws have been renumbered as additions were made. Beginning with Article 2.01, D has updated references to the new Credit Union Act. G adds the words "and Treasury Board" for clarity purposes. Article 3.02 received a reference update due to renumbering. Article 4, as a result of the changes to our articles, we also are required to similarly make changes to our bylaws. All of the changes in Article 4 of the bylaws result from the approval of the new AAA preferred shares and minor amendments and clarifications to the existing classes of shares. The language mirrors that of the articles. Article 5 only has a few minor changes. 5.16 and 5.19 both have a reference update due to renumbering. 5.17 has the words "of the Act" added for clarity. Article 6.11E, relating to persons who are disqualified from being a director, has changed. Previously, any spouse of a current employee of Omista, Atlantic Central, or the corporation, meaning FCNB, were not able to serve as an Omista director. This is not a requirement of the Credit Union Act, so we have therefore removed that stipulation for all organizations except for a current employee of Omista. Article 6.57, 6.58, and the associated heading has been updated to expand the Audit Committee to now include risk. By adding the word risk, it better defines this important aspect of what this committee is responsible for. The next heading relating to the remuneration has been expanded to include directors at large. This provides greater clarity and transparency. The remainder of the bylaws are unchanged. Mr. Chair, this concludes my summary of the bylaw changes and additions. I move the approval of the amended bylaws as presented.
So we are looking for a seconder, if you second that motion. And wow, Sydney Constantine was right off the mark and seconded that motion. Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Catherine. We'll now take questions and comments regarding the bylaw amendments. We are looking for, I'm sorry, that's up to you, Catherine.
No, you go ahead.
All right, we're looking for any questions on the bylaw changes. To ask a question, please enter it into the Q&A box located along the bottom of your screen in the middle. Or if you'd like to speak, please raise your virtual hand and our team will unmute your line.
So again, you're fast, Jack. Thank you. Again, you're just looking at the little raised hand, that little electronic hand if you want to speak to this motion, or please enter your questions in the Q&A. It does not appear we have any questions, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Catherine. Members, as a reminder, the motion on the floor is to approve the amended bylaws as presented. Please take note that the bylaw amendments require a special resolution as per the Credit Union Act. Once again, a special resolution is that passed by 2/3 or more of the votes cast by the persons who voted in respect of that resolution. Therefore, a 2/3 majority is required on this vote. Before we proceed, is there any further discussion on the motion or clarification required on the special resolution? Please use the Q&A box to type any questions you may have. We'll pause for a moment to allow time for your questions.
There does not appear to be any questions, Mr. Chair.
Great. You should now see a poll on your screen. May I ask all members to please vote now by choosing your selection and hitting submit.
You're voting on the motion to accept the amended bylaws as presented. I know it's all pretty exciting, but take your time. Yes or no? Here we go. Oh, here we go. 98% in favor, 2% against, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. As displayed on the screen, we have a 2/3 majority. The special resolution for the bylaw amendment has been approved. We'll now move on to item number 7 of our agenda. I'd like to call upon Simon Pacey, Chair of the Nominating Committee.
Good evening, Omista. In accordance with the current bylaws, the Board of Omista Credit Union shall be comprised of a total of 9 directors. Generally, directors serve for a 3-year term and are eligible for re-election, but are not eligible to serve for more than 9 consecutive years. The terms of 4 director positions are expiring at today's 2022 Annual General Meeting. 3 of the positions are for a 3-year term and 1 position is for a 1-year term. Those positions were held by Shawnee Beaulieu, Robert Christie, Claire Fanning, and France Leblanc. All the directors except for Claire Fanning are eligible for re-election. Claire has reached the 9-year limit and is therefore not eligible for re-election. A call for nominations was placed on January 20th, 2022 to fill these positions. As of the close of nominations on February 4th, 2022, we received the following nominations. For the 3 available 3-year term positions, Shawnee Beaulieu, France Leblanc, and Linda Schofield. And for the one available one-year term position, we received a nomination for Robert Christie. All candidates have been appropriately vetted and meet all the requirements to serve on the board of directors. With 4 nominations for the 4 open positions, Shawnee Beaulieu, France Leblanc, Linda Schofield, and Robert Christie have been elected by acclamation. Welcome back to Bob, France, and Shawnee, and a warm welcome to Linda. And a thank you to all for your willingness to serve your credit union. Mr. Chair, this is the report of the nominating committee.
Thank you, Simon, and a warm congratulations to you all. Are there any questions regarding Simon's report from the nominating committee? Please use the Q&A box to type any questions you may have. We'll pause for a moment to allow for your questions.
You have to wait for the slow typers just in case. Okay, it does not appear there are any questions, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Catherine. We're now at item number 8 on our agenda, the presentation of the reports. As in the past, we will consider all reports at the same time. One motion to approve all reports as presented. Feel free to type in your questions into the Q&A box as you think of them. Following the presentation of all the reports, we will pause and answer your questions. I'll now call upon Claire Fanning, Vice Chair, to assume the chair during the presentation of the reports. Claire.
And I will in turn call upon you, Jack Lowe, Board Chair, to deliver your chair's report.
Good morning, my fellow members. I'm pleased to be with you, but wish we were doing this in person. Hopefully that will happen next year. Regarding the issue of the pandemic, the past 2 years have been very tough years for all of us, particularly for financial institutions like Omista, which were designated essential services. All our staff were amazing in their dedication to Omista and to our members, even throughout all the stress and anxiety that came their way. I and all your board directors appreciate and thank them for their service. I also want to thank my fellow directors, as well as Tammy and our executive assistant, Joanne Beliveau, for their hard work and many meetings this past year. As a result of the new Credit Union Act and a need to refresh our board policies, together we reviewed, amended, and created over 50 documents, resulting in a substantially revised board policy book. These are critical policies designed to ensure adherence to the regulations and adherence to our oversight responsibilities as a board. A job well done. I considered what else I would say in these remarks. I leave all that has happened with Omista in the past year to our CEO, Tammy, and our Director of Finance and Risk, Asha, except to say thanks for the very hard work by management and all staff. We had a very good financial year. I believe members want to hear something of the challenges Omista is facing and our strategies for sustainability. Your credit union is facing significant challenges. However, I believe we have the resources and people to overcome them. By overcome, I mean embracing the changes they will bring us, adapting to new processes, and accepting the new opportunities created. Open banking is beginning and will be part of our culture within a couple of years. Increasing regulation is already here, requiring increased diligence by both staff and your board. What can I say about technology? What we will see in the next few years will affect us all, challenge our processes, require more specialized staff, change the way we actually work. Environmental, social, and governance issues are increasingly important to our members, our communities, and our regulators. Addressing these issues must become a permanent part of our strategies and processes to achieve our goals. Let's address some of the strategies for sustainability. I don't mean sustainable just in terms of the environment, but also in terms of financial sustainability, adherence to regulations, and retention and growth of our staff. Your board and management recently held a day and a half of strategic planning concentrating on the next 3 years. The overall objective arising from that experience is growth. Growth of our human resources, growth of revenue, but most importantly, growth of membership, our most important asset. Over the next few weeks, a detailed plan for achieving our objectives will be created and approved. I'm excited about our future and look forward to all the challenges coming forward and the opportunities they will provide us. Thank you.
Thank you, Jack. I will now call upon Tammy Christopher, CEO, to deliver her report.
Thank you, Claire. Good afternoon, and thank you, members, for joining us today for a look back on 2021 and the accomplishments of our credit union. This past year saw much growth for New Brunswick. Net interprovincial migration in the second quarter of 2021 saw its highest since 1975. The ability for individuals to work from home made New Brunswick a top choice for those wanting to leave the big cities and bring their salaries, causing this to raise the roof on resales. New Brunswick experienced the hottest sellers market in decades, with massive increases in the cost of housing. As quick as a house would be listed, multiple offers would come in, often above asking, and sometimes creating bidding wars. Adding to this the low cost of borrowing, you have significant growth in the mortgage market. Omista's mortgage portfolio grew by almost 10%, and our commercial portfolio grew by almost 30%. This growth has led to a strong financial performance that our Director of Finance and Risk, Asha Jamula, will highlight in her report. The management and employees of Omista Credit Union remains to be a partner for our members, small business owners, and our communities. In a time when the pace of change has never been faster, we have been determined to find new and innovative ways to meet the demands and expectations of every generation of credit union members, while maintaining our core values of fairness, trust, honesty, and service to all. Whether that service be in branch performing transactions with a customer service representative, or receiving advice from a lending or investment specialist, or from the comfort of your sofa performing a digital transaction through Member Direct, Omista will continue to provide you with the service you have come to depend upon. Much work has been completed in 2021 that continues to propel Omista forward. Our new credit union response team matured and further developed. This group has become the dedicated resource for members. Any member or customer is able to contact us either via telephone or electronically and reach a live person who is ready to assist you. Even when our branch is required to be closed, this team is there for you. During 2021, they answered hundreds of inquiries. Members have told us how refreshing it is that Omista still answers the phone and can be relied upon for that personal touch. Following an extensive market analysis, we launched the new personal account packages in April. More than 4,300 members received reductions in their service charges. Work continued at the national level in finding a suitable replacement for the global payment cards. I am happy to inform you that the foundation has been laid, and later this year we will be launching the new debit MasterCard option. Cybersecurity remains at the forefront. More than ever, cyber criminals are trying to penetrate companies. As a system, all credit unions in Atlantic Canada have gone through a thorough review of their security measures and protocols. Led by security experts at CGI and League Data, we have reviewed over 100 control areas. Omista has successfully implemented protection measures in all areas and currently have no high-risk areas. All of our risk areas are within acceptable tolerances. This is an ever-changing area, and because of that, we have implemented processes to continually monitor and test our controls to ensure they remain strong and relevant. During the year, we conducted a customer experience survey. Some members told us that they would like an extra layer of security for their online banking, and we heard you. In January 2022, we introduced two-factor authentication. You would have recently experienced this new level of security when you logged into Member Direct. And later in 2022, a further security enhancement will come along called Strong Pack. Members will be required to update their Member Direct pack from their current 5-digit code to a pack that will require a combination of numbers, letters, and symbols. Much work was also completed from a regulatory perspective. In compliance with the Credit Union Act, Omista implemented new liquidity and capital plans. Part of our new capital objective was to reach an equity percentage of 6%. To do so, we wanted to offer members an avenue to invest in their credit union while being rewarded with a greater return. In December, we completed a preferred share offering in which $1.5 million was invested with a return of 3% to our members. Thank you to those who have invested. And for anyone who missed out on this sale, another opportunity will be provided in 2022. As a B Corp certified company, Omista continues to focus on sustainability efforts. I am proud to report that we are offsetting 100% of our energy consumption through bullfrog power. Also, together with Atlantic Central, League Savings and Mortgage, and 41 fellow credit unions in Atlantic Canada, we published our 2020 Sustainability Report, entitled Living Our Values, Leading an Exceptional Time. The report is displayed on the screen. Take a look. On September 30th, we observed the first National Day for Truth and Reconciliation. Each employee and director received reconciliation education and Indigenous awareness training. We still have much to learn, but are committed to listening and learning of all aspects of diversity and inclusion as a credit union. Once again, the overall Customer Service Experience Award among all financial institutions in the retail banking sector has been awarded to Canada's credit unions. This is the 17th consecutive year that Canada's credit unions have received the award, reflecting the continuing high level of service provided to their member bases. We know that this award is because of the exceptional team of people employed with the credit union. Our outstanding team are the heart of Omista. Each team member gives tirelessly to provide outstanding service to our members. We have many long-serving employees at Omista. During 2021, 9 employees celebrated milestones. I'd like to recognize them now. Celebrating 5 years with Omista is Sydney Constantine. Celebrating 10 years is Chantel Calvert. Celebrating 15 years is Angela Steves. And celebrating 20 years, we have Rochelle Casey, Jennifer Engelhardt, Darlene Kelly, and Deanna LeBlanc. And an outstanding 30 years of service goes to Stephanie McGrath. Thank you to each and every one of you for your outstanding dedication. This past year has continued to put a strain on all individuals. So now is the time that I must give thanks. Thank you to the wisdom and support of our Board of Directors, who provided support, guidance, and oversight. Thank you to Omista's pandemic team, who continued to adjust as we moved through the provincial restrictions and the moving of levels. You compassionately considered the effects and decisions we made on our members and our fellow employees. Thank you to the leadership team, who kept a keen focus and demonstrated immense flexibility and innovation. And above all, thank you to the employees who continue to put themselves out there every day to provide exceptional service to you, our members. In conclusion, 2020 was an exceptional year. Thank you to you, our members, for your continued trust and faith in us and allowing us to service you.
Thank you, Tammy. I will now call upon Ajit Gautam, Audit Committee Chairperson, to deliver his report.
Sound and effective corporate governance is a priority for Omista Credit Union. The Credit Union Board of Directors remain an independent entity with the ability to effectively supervise management's operation of the credit union. It is the responsibility of the Audit Committee to meet periodically with the credit union management and external auditors to review matters relating to the quality of the financial reporting, internal control, the nature, extent, and result of the audit, recommend the engagement of external auditor, review and report on credit union's financial statement to the Board of Directors. The committee is made up of 5 directors: Claire Fanning, Pat Duffield, Rayan Brennan, Jack Lowe, and Ajit Gautam, and is guided by the Audit Committee Charter. According to the credit union bylaws, the committee is required to hold regular meetings to ensure that an appropriate level of due diligence has been directed towards effective risk management and control. The committee reviewed the quarterly report prepared by Concentra, which incorporates 5 years forward-looking information and projected profitability, asset liability matching, interest rate risk, and liquidity stress testing. The committee continues to monitor the liquidity ratio, capital management, which includes a detailed liquidity management plan, stress testing, and a contingency funding plan. In addition to this, during the year, the committee took a major task of reviewing and updating all audit committee policies to maintain the good governance. I'm glad to inform that now we have up-to-date policies in place. Together with the management, the audit committee recommended the audit firm KPMG to perform annual external audit for 2021. The committee met with the external auditors to receive the audit plan and discuss in detail the risk areas to be covered during the audit. After a review of the audited financial statement for the year ended December 31st, 2021, and with a net income of $1.5 million, the committee recommended their acceptance on February 23rd, 2022.
Thank you, Ajit. I would now call upon Jennifer Clement, Audit Partner with KPMG LLP, to deliver the external auditor opinion.
Our report is addressed to the members of Omista Credit Union Limited. We have audited financial statements of Omista Credit Union Limited, which comprise the Statement of Financial Position as at December 31st, 2021, the Statement of Comprehensive Income for the year then ended, the Statement of Changes in Members' Equity for the year then ended, the Statement of Cash Flows for the year then ended, and notes to the financial statements, including a summary of significant accounting policies. In our opinion, the accompanying financial statements present fairly, in all material respects, the financial position of the entity as at December 31st, 2021, and its results of operations and its cash flows for the year then ended, in accordance with international financial reporting standards. We conducted our audit in accordance with Canadian generally accepted auditing standards. We are independent of the entity in accordance with the ethical requirements that are relevant to our audit of the financial statements in Canada, and we have fulfilled our other ethical responsibilities in accordance with these requirements. It is management's responsibility for the preparation and fair presentation of the financial statements in accordance with IFRS.
Thank you, Jennifer. I will now call upon Asha Jamula, Director of Finance and Risk, to deliver the financial statements.
Good afternoon, everyone. Audited financial statements were included in the electronic AGM materials, the link to which was sent to you via email. The management of Omista Credit Union is responsible for the preparation of the financial statements and believes that they fairly present the credit union's financial condition in accordance with the requirements of the Credit Union Act and regulations hereunder and conform in all material aspects with international financial reporting standards. We establish internal controls necessary to enable the preparation of financial statements that are free from material misstatements, whether due to fraud or error. Your board and management both consider these statements to be fairly presented. I will now take you through a summary of the highlights of our 2021 year. We will begin with our statement of financial position, which is found on page 1 of the audited financial statements. This statement displays a significant growth in assets from $303.3 million to $321.3 million, an increase of $18 million or 5.95%. We saw a significant growth in our lending portfolio during 2021. Loans grew from $234 million to $265 million, an increase of $31 million or 13.29%. This growth was mainly in residential mortgages and commercial portfolio. Residential mortgages grew by $14 million and commercial lending grew by $18 million. Now on to the liabilities side. The members' deposit account portfolio grew from $283 million to $298 million. This was an increase of $15 million or 5.27% compared to previous year growth of 14.05%. Deposit growth was primarily concentrated in demand deposits, as many of our members were reluctant to lock their money in for longer term deposits due to low interest rates. With the lending growth stronger than deposit growth, our investments decreased by $16.7 million this year to $38.3 million. Overall, the balance sheet of the credit union experienced significant growth in 2021 and remains very strong. Now moving on to statement of comprehensive income on page 2 of the audited financial statements. The total revenue earned from lending activities was $10.4 million compared to $10 million during the prior year. Although we have seen significant loan growth, this is indicative of continuing low interest rate environment. Loans currently bear interest at an average annual rate of 3.99%, which is a decrease when compared to 4.36% for last year. Line of credit rate decreased to 5.17% compared to 5.41%, and rates on mortgages are down to 3.62% compared to 3.78% during prior year. Now, interest earned on our investments was $301,000 compared to $568,000 previous year. This is mainly due to low interest rates and decrease in our investment portfolio. These investments include shares, segregated liquidity, short-term deposits with Atlantic Central. Now, under financial expense, the amount of interest paid to members for their deposits was $2.7 million compared to $3.4 million previous year. This decline is due to higher rate deposits repriced to current market prices during the year. Demand deposits bear interest at an average annual rate of 0.48%. Fixed term deposits bear interest at 1.71%, and RRSPs and RRIFs bear interest at 2.29% and 2.26% respectively. Impairment losses on loans was $95,873 compared to $959,000 in the previous year. In 2020, to be prudent, we have increased the allowance for loan loss provisions because of the concern for members' ability to make payments on the loans and mortgages due to the economic uncertainty related to the pandemic. As we entered the second year of pandemic, economic recovery progressed better than anticipated. This resulted in members' ability to make payments on their borrowings, and which kept delinquencies low. Now moving on to financial margin. Net of the above items total $7.9 million compared to $6.2 million increase over the previous year. Other revenue, which includes service charges, commissions, property rentals, and revenues from our wealth management offices, is reported at $2.1 million for the period compared to $2.25 million previous year. New personal account service charge packages were launched in the early part of the year, which resulted in reduction of the service charge income. Operating expenses consist of cost to maintain our premises, salaries, and the general operating cost of the credit union came in at $7.9 million, an increase of 7.87%. This leaves the credit union with the before tax income of $2,166,218 and after tax income of $1,569,321. Now moving on to page 3 is the statement of changes in members' equity. This statement demonstrates for us how the returned earnings of the credit union have changed. Now moving on to page 4, you'll find the statement of cash flows, which essentially provides to you with the sources of uses of cash for the year. This statement explains in detail how our cash position has changed throughout the year. And finally, beginning on page 5, you'll find the notes to financial statements that will provide even more details on each line item of the statement of financial position. The notes also contain the detailed information regarding Omista's significant accounting policies. Now moving on to the next slide shows regulatory requirements for equity and liquidity ratios. Subsection 15 of the Rules to the Credit Union Act stipulates that credit unions must maintain an equity level no less than 5% of the total assets. Omista exceeded this minimum and ended the year 2021 at 6.09% compared to 5.46% in the previous year. Regulatory equity consists of members' equity plus liabilities qualifies as regulatory equity. A significant contributor to the equity growth is issuance of Class AA shares, preferred shares during the year. Note 13 provides details of the equity level. Credit union is also required to maintain a regulatory ratio of minimum 10% of total liabilities in liquid assets. Omista exceeded this minimum and ended the year at 15.60%. On another note, in order to support the financial initiatives, Board of Directors of Omista Credit Union approved to set aside $250,000 reserve from the returned earnings. This special reserve is to be used with board approval for any initiative that supports future digital transformation changes and execution of Omista Credit Union strategic plan or Atlantic Credit Union system strategy. Now, this concludes the review of financial statements. Overall, in 2021, Omista saw a strong financial performance. I would like to thank everyone for your attention.
Thank you, Asha. With all of the reports now being presented, I will return the chair back to Jack Lowe.
Thank you, Claire. May I please have a motion to accept the reports and financial statements as presented?
So would you please motion carry? What is it again? It's that motion thing and the seconding. There we go. Thank you, France Leblanc. She so moves, and Simon Pacey has seconded that.
Thank you, Catherine. Is there any discussion on the motion? Please use the Q&A box to type in any questions you may have. We'll pause for a moment to allow time for your questions.
Now, Mr. Chair, there is a question from Wilfred Alliston, and he asks, what is the value of delinquent loans? What percentage is this of total loans?
I will turn that over to our CEO, or Asha, if you wish.
CEO Tammy, Christopher,
Sure.
Would you answer that?
I know that Asha's in the background right now looking for that exact percentage, but I can, without knowing it right off the top of my head, while we give her a few seconds to grab that, I can tell you that Omista has a very, very low delinquency ratio, and it's less than 1%. So perhaps
impressive.
Asha can give us the the exact number. I'll ask George to unmute her line so she can speak.
Raise your hand, Asha, so we can find you quickly. Raise your little electronic hand. That puts you to the top of the list. There she is, right at the top, or George.
It is point, can you hear me? Huh?
We can, Asha,
Okay,
yes.
it's 0.17%.
0.17%. You heard it here live. That is the percentage of total loans that are delinquent. Very small percentage. Thank you, Mr. Alliston, for that question. Are there any other questions? If there are, please enter them in the Q&A now, please. There appear to be no other questions, Mr. Chair.
All right, Catherine. You should now see a poll on your screen. May I ask all members to please vote now by choosing your selection and hitting submit.
And the motion to accept the reports and the 2021 financial statements as presented. That is on what you are voting. If I remember my grammar correctly. Those things on which you are voting, yes or no. We will wait for you to get your, and it's voting's done, and we have 100% approval, Mr. Chair.
So, as displayed on the screen, the motion to accept the reports and approve the 2021 financial statements has been carried. Let's move on to recommendations from the board and the approval of the director's remuneration. As per as per our bylaws, Article 5.05, sub A, sub 4, at each AGM, we must approve the maximum annual amount to be paid directors as remuneration for the performance of their duties during the current fiscal year. Included in note 16 of the audited financial statements, we have reported this amount for 2021 to be $90,955, up from the 2020's amount of $66,490. The amount for 2020 was low as we shifted to virtual board meetings during COVID's restrictions. We also held additional committee meetings during 2021 as we completed a full review of all board policies. We anticipate this amount will return to pre-COVID levels and are therefore setting the maximum aggregate amount of remuneration and reimbursement to directors at $125,000 for the 2022 fiscal year. May I please ask for a motion to approve the maximum aggregate amount of remuneration and reimbursement to directors at $125,000 for the 2022 fiscal year. May I have a mover and a seconder?
So moved by Richard Vaillancourt. He's fast. He gets in first a lot of the time, just saying. And Ajit Gautam has seconded the motion, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Catherine. Is there any discussion on the motion? Please use the Q&A box to type in any questions you may have. We'll pause for a moment to allow for those questions.
This is where you're supposed to have a list of credit union jokes, Jack.
Oh, no, they'll probably all fall flat.
It does not appear to be there are any questions. Mr. Chair.
Thank you. You should now see a poll on your screen. May I ask all members to please vote now by choosing your selection and hitting submit.
You are voting on the motion to accept the board recommendation of director remuneration. You have to say that 3 times before voting. Remuneration, remuneration. Tough one. And the results are 100% in favor, Mr. Chair.
Excellent. As displayed on the screen, the motion for director remuneration has been approved. Excuse me. I'll now call upon Ajit Gautam, Audit Committee Chairperson, for the appointment of the external auditors.
As a best practice, your audit committee issued request for proposal for external audit services in 2021 and invited 6 firms to submit request for proposal. The audit committee evaluated the proposal and selected Deloitte LLP as external auditors. And we are recommending Deloitte LLP for 2022 fiscal years. Mr. Chair, I move the motion to appoint Deloitte LLP as Omista Credit Union's external auditors for 2022 fiscal years.
Thank you, Ajit. May I have a seconder to Ajit's motion to appoint Deloitte as external auditors for the 2022 fiscal year?
We have the motion from Patricia Duffield and seconded by Sydney Constantine. And to you, Gail, I'm not sure why you wouldn't have seen the poll. Sometimes we get other things on our computers and they can override our screen. That's the only thing I might suggest. If you have continuing problems with that, we'll see if we can get our technical help to give you a call or for you to call them. But I have to find the number. Sorry about that. I will look for that.
So is there any discussion on the motion? Please use the Q&A box to type in any questions you may have. We'll pause for a moment to allow time for your questions.
There appears to be no questions, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. You should now see a poll on your screen. May I ask all members to please vote now by choosing your selection and hitting submit.
You should see a poll on your screen now, and it is on the motion to accept the appointment of Deloitte LLP as the external auditors for the 2022 fiscal year. And Gail, let us know if you can see that poll. We have 100% acceptance. And Gail, if you do not see the poll and want to register your vote, type it in the Q&A and we will put that in the record.
So as displayed on the screen, the motion to appoint Deloitte as external auditors for 2022 has been carried. So let's move on to new business and a message from Atlantic Central's and League Saving and Mortgage CEO, Michael Leonard.
Hello, and thank you for the opportunity to join you today at your annual general meeting. On behalf of the board, management, and staff of Atlantic Central and League Savings, I'm pleased to bring greetings to Omista Credit Union and its members and congratulate you on another successful year. Omista is one of 42 credit unions proudly serving almost 300,000 members at 130 locations throughout the Atlantic region. You're part of Canada's largest network of financial institutions with ties to the cooperative credit union system around the world. And I'm pleased to report that through another year of the global pandemic, credit unions in Atlantic Canada have worked together to respond to member needs and achieve tremendous outcomes. The Atlantic credit union system is unique in our ability to work together. While we exist as 42 separate credit unions, we strive to work together and act as close to a single entity as possible. This enables each of us to leverage the best of what we can do as a group and allows us to invest together to reduce both the cost of investments and our time to bring new services to our members. Nowhere is this clearer than in our adoption of new member-facing technologies. The Atlantic system is the first group of credit unions in Canada to have adopted all three mobile payment platforms, Apple, Google, and Samsung Pay, and digital account opening, lending, and deposit taking. This is a great achievement and one that directly benefits you, our members. It's also just the beginning. As digital adoption by members increases, and it has, we'll continue to work together to enhance your experience to ensure that you get the best advice and the best products and services in a way that best meets your needs. At the center of our regional model are three credit union-owned companies: Atlantic Central, who provides central banking and a whole host of other support services; League Savings, who provides mortgage and deposit services; and League Data, our technology company. Together, the three companies coordinate and lead significant priority initiatives that are identified by credit unions. The Atlantic system model has served us well. Credit unions overall had a very strong 2021. As I mentioned earlier, working through another year of uncertainty with a global pandemic, we again led the country in customer service and won awards in the areas of wealth management and digital services. And we're well positioned to continue our strong performance into the future. I want to thank and acknowledge your CEO, Tammy Christopher, for her significant contributions to the regional system. Being competitive in the financial services industry requires real leadership. The industry is increasingly complex, and the demands on your CEO are significant. Tammy's been a tremendous contributor to the work done at the regional level and has served as a director on my board and also on the board of our National Trade Association. I can tell you firsthand that Tammy's knowledge and judgment have made a real difference in the Atlantic Credit Union system, and that benefits Omista Credit Union greatly. As some of you may know, this will be my last opportunity to address you as the CEO of Atlantic Central and League Savings, as I plan to retire this year. It's been a privilege to work with the board and management of Omista, and I want to thank all of you for your cooperation and your passion for credit unions and their members. It's been a tremendous 34 years working in this environment, and our shared values for people before profits have allowed us to grow collectively to more than $12 billion in member mortgages, loans, and deposits. There are so many accomplishments and great memories I have to look back at my career here, but I want you to know that looking forward, your credit union system is in good hands with your board and management team. Most importantly, the strength of a cooperative is a reflection of the strength of its membership, and your presence here today shows that you know credit unions keep community needs and the local economy at the heart of their decision-making, and that profits are invested back in the local community for the benefit of all. I'm confident that by following the 6th cooperative principle, cooperation among cooperatives will continue to grow and serve our communities well. Thank you again for the invitation to address you at your annual general meeting. Congratulations on a great 2021, and I want to wish you all the best for a tremendous 2022.
Michael, thank you. Thank you and for participating in our annual general meeting this year. We really appreciate it. So
What now?
this year,
34 years, that's a long time.
it is. I agree.
Yeah.
He's been great to the credit union system, no doubt about it.
And
This year we
really
have one retiring
praise
director.
for Tammy.
Yeah.
I praise for Tammy too. I just wanted to mention that.
So this year we have one retiring director. The foundation of Omista's board is the contribution made by our individual directors, all of whom give their expertise and time for the greater good of Omista and our membership. This year, we're recognizing Claire Fanning.
Claire Fanning has served on our board since 2013, and under the New Brunswick Credit Unions Act, must take the obligatory break after 9 years. Claire brought to Omista's board a strong background in the multifaceted layers of the financial services industry. With this experience, it has helped us to navigate finding balance and realizing the importance of making change, progress, and responding to the ever-changing needs of our membership, while not losing sight of our history and cooperative values. Claire has served as director and chair on board committees. She has also served as chair and vice chair of the board. Claire leaves us as a Canadian Credit Union accredited director, one of the first New Brunswick directors to achieve this in 2015. Her commitment and devotion to Omista is immeasurable. I have personally known Claire for about 10 years. I consider her a friend and a mentor. She convinced me to join Omista's board, which I have found challenging and rewarding. Her advice and guidance to me has been essential. Claire, we want to thank you for all the time and effort you have contributed to our credit union, and wish you and Zane a continued happy and healthy retirement.
We can hear that all that virtual clapping.
Thank you. Thank you,
You're welcome.
Jack and everyone. Appreciate that.
Congratulations.
You will be missed.
Thank you.
Is there any new business to come before the meeting this afternoon? Should you have any new business, please type "I have new business" into the Q&A box and please raise your virtual hand. We'll pause for a moment to see if there is any new business.
France Leblanc says, thank you, Claire, for your service and mentorship.
Thank you, France.
I think this would be a good time to circle back to the question that we had a little while ago. I guess it was towards the beginning of the meeting. And I see that that is cleared, but I did snap a copy of that question so that I could go back to it.
I did
Just-
send him a private note because there's
Okay.
something he was suggesting that appears to be possibly false, that he's making his assumption on. So I don't know if he's reissuing a question on that.
Okay, so we can just pause to see if there is still a question regarding that.
I didn't mean to stop you, Tammy, if you had a had an actual question for that Ukrainian.
Oh, well, we did. I did
Yeah.
have an answer for that. So
Yeah,
I'll summarize for our member who did have a question. It was in regards to digital IDs and wondering what Omista's stance is on requiring digital IDs. And really, it's quite early in that discussion for us to really know what's going to take place here in Canada in regards to digital IDs. And it's certainly a hot issue, and we really don't know what's going to happen yet. We are a provincially regulated financial institution, and so we do not have to follow OSFI rules the way the big banks do. But of course, we would be following provincial regulations. So this is definitely a topic that your management team, as well as your board of directors, are definitely going to be staying on top of as it evolves and goes along. So I do hope that does answer our members' inquiry a little bit.
Thank you. Again, if there are any, if there's any new business, please put it in the Q&A as a question, or you may raise your hand and we will open your mic. There does not appear to be any new questions, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Well, with no further business, and before I adjourn this meeting, I'd like to thank both George and Catherine for their assistance in our virtual presentation of our AGM.
Before you
Bill?
thank us, it looks like there are a couple, there is one more question, sorry.
Fair enough.
Sorry, Mr. Chair.
That's okay.
Darren McLeod asks, has there been any discussion about mergers with other credit unions?
Tammy.
Would you like me to take that one? We have not entered into any merger conversations. Omista Credit Union has not. But of course, there's always talks within Atlantic Canada, within every one of the provinces. And so as we move along this, Omista is always open to talking with any of our fellow credit unions. And we're looking at all possibilities to be able to provide better services to you, our members. But I can confirm that at the moment, we are not in any merger talks.
Okay, and the only other comment is a thank you from Haley Tessier. Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Haley.
I'd like to take this opportunity to thank all of you, our members, for your participation this afternoon. Since the onset of restrictions due to COVID-19, we've all made many adjustments to our daily lives. I wish you and your family safety, good health, and prosperity. Your credit union is here for you to help you through this challenging time. We're a partner you can trust and depend upon. Thank you. The meeting is adjourned.
Thank you all for joining us.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.